Hi, Peter. Thank you for asking me to talk. I really don't mind talking and telling you hello. And I wanted to just talk about the drought that you said you're still experiencing in the heat after having that good long period of where there was temperate climate and rain and cooling, and there were a lot of good clouds in the sky. I realized that a lot of that came from all of our work I think, along your water's edge, because in your area there's a lot of volcanic activity, and that means there's fire, basically in the Indian Ocean area, and it's known there's a lot of volcanic activity there. And I think that's one of the reasons you have drought and you have so much trouble with your climate. And when we worked with the migratory birds along the coast, and we put things like to feed them along the coast, and I know they like gourds, the gulls like watermelons, little watermelons, and the orange gourds and pumpkins and things. I noticed that a wetlands area developed along your coast where there was a lot of emerging gull type birds, the herons and the seagulls and the egrets, the ones with the really skinny legs and the big beaks, and all the colors, and they started, and then the alligators came up and snakes, and that whole area started to become sort of like a marshland and a swamp, and slowly that's how you heal the edges. You need like a gradual sort of gradation between your land and your water, and I think it's called brackish water, where the salt and the fresh water kind of meet, and the animals sort of know how to create a barrier so that there's not so much salt in a way is flammable, and it brings in heat, and it's bad. You need more fresh water around the edges, and only the gulls and the birds that can be on land and also on water, or say like the seals and the sea lions, the ones who can be in the water and above the water, the whales. I think they can do a lot to clean the water because they know how to be in the air and say deal with the air, and they know also how to be in the water. It's like a special kind of animal that can do that. So I think those are the types of animals, and I think they eat the gourd things like the squashes and the pumpkins and the watermelons, things like that. And I think that then that was why there was a lot of success in creating a marshland. And that's the first thing that develops. It's sort of marshy, water, half land. And then it sort of separates fresh from salt. Also, I noticed once on a video that when a pumpkin was eaten and dispersed into the water by an animal, the seeds actually became enlivened and alive, and they almost swam away. The seeds became real moving things, and those are similar to insects, except for insects for the water, and they know how to cleanse and create through their waste a form of energy like methane and nitrogen through them. And it was almost like the seeds of the pumpkin, maybe after being digested by an animal, had become part of life itself, and the seeds became alive and sprouted, and then they actually became what they're called microbes, and they know how to eat of things that are unhealthy and turn it into something healthy, like a methane or a gas that's healthy, and that's energy, and that brings in sunlight and other things that work all together with nature to clean things up. In California, where we had success ending a lot of our drought, is by working at the mountaintop. There was a lot of forest fires there, and we have a volcano area in the west, and it might have led to an effect where the fire burned down trees, and then there's a pathway of wind that goes through it where normally the trees would block the wind. So the wind normally travels from the east from the west to the east, and what happened is winds started traveling down to the south, and so the bird migration changed and the wind changed, and it changed the climate a lot. And then there was forest fire for some reason because the wind's really supposed to travel with the water, in the way in relation to the water. I'm not sure exactly why, but there was a lot of drought because obviously we had a volcano, and the heat created a tinderbox condition and trees burned down, and then a wind developed in the wrong way, and it really was related to our volcano. And we had these things called the Santa Ana winds, and they would go back and forth, north and south. And when we started working at the mountaintops and healing the soil, which we did with fresh corn and everything, fresh water, and then the burrowing rodents seemed to be able to cleanse up through their own eating the seeds and nuts and then germinating them, and then they would become part of the earth through their dung. And then it was like the smoke started to clear from the forest fires and the trees started to get healthier. It created a barrier for the wind, and then the winds became more of a westerly wind instead of that north-south wind. And then that's part of the Santa Ana condition. Then our drought healed tremendously. So the good thing to do is where there's fire conditions like volcanoes, is to try and ease those areas by feeding the migratory birds, the ones that go really high in the climate with the freshness of water and hydration. And where there's water conditions around a volcano, like in the Pacific, in your area, the Indian Ocean, where there are volcanoes in the water, it's good maybe to think of the animals who can go in the water and also above, like a gull or an egret or a sea lion or a seal. It depends. You just have to put it together. Here, a volcano is up north, but it's up on a mountain. It's more relative, I think, to land than water, although there is water nearby. I don't know that area that well, but in your area, your volcanoes are deep in the water in a way. So the thing to do is to think of the life, the water, the aquatic life that can kind of take something from the land and bring it to the water and know how to deal with it, like a duck or a swan, or animals that float but can go in and then come out. That's what I think you should do. And that red-footed kestrel was the one I looked up. Those falcons are really powerful. So I hope this helps. And I would be glad to help you with funding, but you have more money now than I do. I'm broke. Thank you.